Welcome back to Sage YouTube channel. So this is my review for the Final Fantasy 16 which has been launched, and yeah, it's pretty nice game to have. It's a semi open world kind of game with linear levels, and it's semi open world. Basically it's not an open world game like Final Fantasy 15, but it's semi open world, so you have large zones where you walk in, and the story takes place across three different period, uh, teenager, kid, and yeah, kid, teenager, and the adult time period. So the scenario is pretty nice, and it's a very compelling game. But there's one drawback. It's an action RPG, so it has two different things. Like it feels like a weird mash of Devil May Cry and Final Fantasy because the RPG mechanics are there, but in some scenarios it doesn't make sense because it just feels not an action game at all. You have usual light strikes, heavy strikes, smash attacks, jump attacks, like where you throw your enemies on the ground, you smash them, you throw them in the air and stuff. So there is already there, and Clyde is a pretty nice introvert kind of a guy who has not a big friends and things like that, but it's a pretty nice game. And the icons, the this summon mechanic, it's pretty nice, and when the game clicks, it clicks, and it feels weird because there's no need for the RPG mechanics. Purely feels like it's an action game, while on PS5 it runs pretty nice. And yeah, it runs pretty nice. It has two modes, the performance and fidelity mode. In fidelity mode it is around 4K 1440p, and it is locked 30 frames per second, but in performance mode it's 60 frames per second, but in some scenarios it drops down to 30. Like the in performance mode it's all over the place, like the game needs to be optimized a bit for PS5, and in some scenarios it just hits the PlayStation 5 and makes it turn off on its own because it hits the PS5 way too much. So it just needs some optimization, some patches to make it running fast. But overall, as you can see on the screen here, it's a pretty nice, compelling game. It looks pretty nice. The story is pretty good, and yeah, there's usual skill trees and stuff associated with it, which we know from the Final Fantasy games. And overall, this game, it's pretty nice to play. Like the skill tree, it's pretty nice, and it's pretty easy to get on because the game gives you an thing where if you are a veteran player, you have the things in your inventory. But if you are a newcomer to Final Fantasy 16 or Final Fantasy series, then the game gives you rewards for it. Like not rewards, but give you assets and stuff like that, so you can equip it in your item slot and stuff to make the game easy. And if you don't want it, you can just put it in your inventory, and then yeah, it's no, if you didn't equip those items, then it's tough for you. The game becomes challenging. But yeah, the game is overall pretty generic to it. Like it's pretty easy for players who wants some action and not care about the difficulty spike and stuff. You can go the easy game route, and if not, you can just go with like making the game as tough as you want. But yeah, overall the game is pretty nice, and they had crafted a pretty nice story, and they took the whole full advantage of PS5 system. And the icon battles, they are pretty insane, as you can see on the screen here. It looks pretty nice. So yeah, overall Final Fantasy 16 is pretty nice. The weird thing is those some RPG mechanics which are being integrated. Makes the game pretty dull in some scenarios because it feels like there was no need for it. Like those sometimes the skill trees and stuff, it felt like it doesn't need it. But yeah, Final Fantasy is known for their RPG mechanics, so they had to integrate it. But here it feels a bit weird because like some side quests it's pretty nice, but in some side quests and some stuff it becomes very slow. Like there's no nice things, and whereas the RPG mechanism which I am talking about is like collecting loot and stuff, it's pretty weird because it's clearly an action game, and then when you see to it, like you need a sword with some stats and stuff, it becomes boring. It's not like as nice as that of God of War and stuff. But yeah, it it's what it is at this point. But yeah, that's just my gripe regarding it. But overall, the game is pretty nice. The skill tree, it's what you should expect it. You can dump points, skill points on gears and icons, and yeah, you can dump various abilities. You can get abilities for your attacks, icon attacks, and stuff like that. So overall, the game is pretty nice, and it has pretty nice systems, like just apart from that RPG system. But the abilities are pretty nice, and yeah, you get more ability points as you go down the story. So yeah, overall, the game is pretty nice, and yeah, you have to do it. You have to complete the game. If and the demo was pretty nice, but in the demo they don't show you the slow parts, which is a bummer because the game at times feels very slow and it's not that fast. Like some missions and some stuff, they feel very slow, like doing to make the story progress, but it feels weird. But nonetheless, this is it from me. What do you think about this review? Sound of your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe, and I will meet you in the next one. Peace.